It's hot. As hot as I've ever known. We've already walked a marathon today. We did the same yesterday, and on all the days before that. We've still got miles to go today, and many, many more before we reach the end. I think again about Wilfred Thesiger, the adventurer whose journeys inspired our own, and I'm awed, yet again, by the hardships that he and his Bedu guides encountered out here in these silent, scorching sands of the Empty Quarter Desert. My name's Alistair Humphreys. I live in a little village in England, a pretty normal life, but I seem to have this curse of incurable wanderlust that sees me just wanting to head off on adventures around the world. So far this year, I've rowed across the Atlantic Ocean and I've skied up onto the ice cap in Greenland. And I'm just hoping now I can try and squeeze in one more big trip before the end of the year. So I've just sent an email to Leon. He's a friend of a friend. He's cycled around the world. He's just walked 3,000 miles across Mongolia and China.
When I got an email from Alistair Humphreys about doing this trip, I really couldn't say no. This is the sort of thing I love, and even though I didn't know this guy very well, I couldn't imagine anything better to do with a couple of months of my life. And so this ticked all the boxes.
Wilfred Thesiger was an icon of British adventure. He was born in Ethiopia and he fought with the SAS in World War II. His greatest journey was crossing the Empty Quarter Desert.
The Empty Quarter on the Arabian Peninsula is the largest sand desert in the world, and Wilfred Thesiger spent 5 years here in the 1940s. Our journey is going to use him as the inspiration, but it'll be very different in a number of ways. We have little time to prepare for this journey. We can't afford camels and we know nothing about them anyway, so instead we will pull a huge homemade cart loaded with our supplies. Pretty nervous about our cart. We've got a friend of Al's building the cart. I think he's done an amazing job. The only downside is that he's built it off the specifications that Al and I gave him, which means that essentially it's our idea and our cart. We don't know anything about carts and have terrible ideas, so there's just an unnerving aspect to the fact that we're reliant on something that we designed. Hopefully it'll be fine.
We head to Margate, of all places, to squeeze in a bit of British-style desert training. Somehow, one day in the rain doesn't quite feel like ideal preparation for the Empty Quarter.
This doesn't work, I've run out of excuses.
That was much harder than I expected, and it's relentless. You never get a second's rest.
This could be turning into a very bad idea.
Our journey will be 1,000 miles from the south coast of Oman, passing through desert and small towns, and finishing in the United Arab Emirates, in the madness of Dubai. Salalah is where Wilfred Thesiger prepared for a trip across the Empty Quarter 65 years ago. While we're preparing for our own journey, Al and I will be staying with an expat mechanic called Claudio, who is a friend of a friend. We've brought our cart flat packed from the UK, and we need to load it up with a month's worth of food. This food needs to be light, long-lasting, full of energy, and cheap, so we've ended up with a pretty horrible mix of noodles, meat, and biscuits.
I think we're finally just a few minutes from leaving. Al's packing up the rest of our stuff. We're gonna do it. We're gonna walk across the desert.
We said our goodbyes and set off on the expedition. With the cart fully loaded for the first time, it became apparent very quickly that we had a serious problem.
We've headed out of Claudio and Kathy's house, out into Salalah with this insanely big cart, which is going to be absolute hell until we get to a desert.
But we just can't steer. We're sweating profusely already.
After 4 hours and an embarrassingly small amount of kilometers, we gave up. Our expedition was in tatters. Without the cart working properly, we had no chance of making it to Dubai. We called Claudio. He zoomed out to our rescue, accompanied by some of his team of mechanics. In the morning, we'll head to the workshop to see what happens.
The great thing about travel are the unexpected twists and turns that come up along the way. Things that at the time seem a real pain or a bit of a disaster, but lead to such fantastic chance encounters of kind strangers.
This is pulling, this is pushing.
Those guys stayed till 11 o'clock last night working on our cart, and then we're back there at 7 a.m. this morning.
I can't believe the changes in our cart since we arrived here. We've had new tyres, a floor, brakes, steerage systems, pulleys, ropes. We've tried all sorts of things. And now we've got this fantastic list of people's autographs all over the car, all these kind people who've helped us out. What's that say?
Brake bastard.
My pessimistic nature worries about all the bad things that can happen, but the reality is that probably things are going to be great, and this time tomorrow we'll probably be well on the way out towards the empty quarter desert and the beginning of a heck of an exciting, difficult expedition. I'm really looking forward to it. Bye bye.
Ciao.
Oh, it's amazing! Look at this card! For me, exploration was a personal venture. I did not go to the Arabian desert to collect plants, nor to make a map. Such things were incidental. At heart, I knew that to write or even talk of my travels was to tarnish the achievement. I went there to find peace in the hardship of desert travel and the company of desert peoples.
It often seemed incredible to me, especially when I was on foot and conscious of the steps I was taking. Sometimes I counted my footsteps to a bush or to some other mark, and this number seemed but a trifle deducted from the sum that lay ahead of us. Yet I had no desire to travel faster. In this way there was time to notice things. The very slowness of our march diminished its monotony. I thought how terribly boring it would be to rush about this country in a car.
I think slowly we're starting to get used to this life. Every morning when we wake up, it's just head down and walk and see what the desert offers up. And unfortunately we've had to get back on this road for a few days just to make up some miles, which is slightly depressing, but even still the landscape all around is very lunar, very sparse, and so we just have time alone with our thoughts, and we just walk every day. It's a really simple life. Wake up, walk as far as we can, and go to sleep. And that simplicity is growing on me. It's hard, but it's growing on me.
The kindness of people along the road's amazing. We don't want to be on the road to find it frustrating and annoying, but it's undoubtedly a great way to meet a random slice of people.
We are going to Dubai.
Really?
Yeah. We are like Bedu.
Bedu?
Yeah.
You have a milk of camel?
I don't like it. I like Pepsi. I'm an English Bedu.
The kindness that we've seen is just amazing.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Oh, thank you.
You're
That's
welcome.
amazing.
This is very good.
Proper desert food.
Yes.
Wow.
Yesterday, a lorry driver from Saudi Arabia stopped, insisted that when we get to Dubai, we should call him and he'll kill one of his camels and we'll have a great feast.
And now we've been given a few little presents from these people. Every time someone drives past and doesn't give us anything, we can sort of feel ourselves thinking, what a selfish person, they didn't even give us an apple or an orange. This is going to be one of them. Look at that. 3 lads in a truck driving past, and not even a little can of Pepsi for us.
Just a mere beep,
Just
wave,
a mere beep and a wave.
friendly smile. Is that not enough for you?
No, not anymore. Things have changed.
You've changed.
I've changed.
So nice.
Although it doesn't look like much, this is Mukshin, which is where Wilfred Thesiger set off north behind me into the desert. And we're doing exactly the same thing, although it's very different now. We're in this funny little car park with Pakistani restaurants serving food out of the back of trucks. I'm quite sure Thesiger would have thoroughly disapproved of all this encroachment of modernity into the desert, but to be honest, we're really enjoying this curry.
We've had a fabulous journey up through Oman so far. It's been a part adventure, part travel experience. But from today, that changes. From today, we're heading out into the empty quarter proper, right out into the desert. This is the adventure that we really came here for. I feel more excited now than I felt for the entire journey so far.
This is serious desert. This is where you can't make mistakes. The heat is relentless. The terrain is quite hard for a cart. It's incredibly unforgiving. Stuck again.
There's so many uncertainties over this next stage of desert, but if it works out, then it's going to be amazing.
Dinner is served. This is a really poignant part of Thesiger's book. He says here, "I knew that if I travelled here alone, the weight of this vast solitude would crush me utterly." I can appreciate that entirely out here. These vast gravel plains extending out as far as the eye can see in every direction. They just combine to create a feeling of huge sky, huge ground, and just total, utter emptiness. It's beautiful, but it's pretty intimidating. I'm hiding out here from the heat of the sun, and all we've got to try and get away from it is the shade from the cart.
Oh, so hot. Nothing changes and the horizon doesn't get any nearer, and just start questioning what on earth is the point.
All the bland, featureless things about it that attracted me to come out here are now just feeling monotonous and rubbish.
We've walked for hundreds and hundreds of miles already, and I know then we can do it. I know we can walk for hundreds of miles, and yet before we get to the end, before we get across this desert, we've still got to cross hundreds and hundreds more miles of this endless flat gravel plain, and it's just mentally so hard to do. I know now we can do it, and if you know you can do it, then what's the point in doing it? Trudging and hurting and sweating.
As soon as you start to get negative, it just spirals more and more and more. And everything here just crushes you. There's just nothing really to lift your spirits out here.
What on earth am I constantly pushing myself for? Why can't I just be happy in one place like normal people?
Today's been just one of those crazy days. We met a Bedou truck driver called Ali who was waiting to make us coffee, and he was such a cool guy, sitting there with his truck just as the sun was beginning to go down, and he made us some really beautiful coffee, gave us some dates. I always enjoy those conversations where you don't really know what the other person's saying, but you can communicate. A lot of communication is largely physical and through emotions rather than actually words. I've got a real buzz. It's possibly the coffee that Ali gave us.
Cheers.
And it feels pretty good watching the sunset. I feel like life could be a lot worse. I feel like I could be doing a lot worse right now.
I just feel so excited to be out here again. After the slight frustrating boredom, it just feels exactly the place that I want to be again, and it's great to have the buzz back, have the mojo back, just be excited to be out here. Suddenly this is feeling like a real expedition, like a real 21st century version of the journey that Thesiger took. So life is very, very good right now.
We're now really making progress through the empty quarter, and then hopefully in about a week or 10 days pop out into civilization once more.
For a Pepsi.
Alan is bloody Pepsi.
We left the empty desert behind when we crossed the border into the congestion of the United Arab Emirates. We were approaching the end of our journey. We no longer needed the cart, so we walked with rucksacks for the final 200 miles down the motorway towards our finish point at the top of the tallest building on Earth, the Burj Khalifa.
We're now so close to the end, and the excitement of finishing this journey is the only thing still driving us on. After walking nearly 1,000 miles in 6 weeks, we are weak, exhausted, and in a lot of pain.
It's a pretty awful day. When expeditions get to this phase, there's really only one thing to do, and that's nail the painkillers, turn up the iPod very, very loud. So today is a day of painkillers and very loud music. This expedition hasn't turned out at all how I thought it would, and perhaps that's why I've enjoyed it so much. When I arrived in Salalah, my plan was to travel with Leon through the empty quarter and to experience sand dunes and gravel plains and emptiness and what Thesiger describes as the silence which we've driven from our world. But the things I will treasure the most of this trip are the good people, the really incredibly kind, generous people we've met. This is not the Middle East of CNN and Fox News. This is the real Middle East, and some of the kindest, most generous people I've ever met in the world. It's one of the safest parts of the world I've ever been. The end is nigh. We've made it. We've done it all the way. It's been a hell of a trip. With respect to Wilfred Thesiger, I think that these places are better places now than they were before. The wilderness is still here for anyone who wants it. The adventure is still there for anyone who would choose to seek it out. But there's a busy, modern, vibrant, cosmopolitan world here now. It's not just silence and emptiness. We shared so much with Thesiger on this journey. The heat, the slog, the dull food, the sense of isolation, yet so much was completely different. But when you follow a hero, their adventure is only really a catalyst. You can't replicate a journey because each one is unique and unpredictable and unrepeatable, and that's the magic of travel. We didn't really have the time, the money, or the expertise to do this trip, but we did it anyway. We pushed ourselves hard, really hard, and now we've done it. We've made it. Although our journeys and our personalities are very different, I think Thesiger summed it up well for all three of us with these words from Arabian Sands. I remembered my excitement when the chance came to go to the desert, the determination to cross it, and then the doubts and fears, the frustrations and moments of despair. Now we've crossed it. To others, our journey will have little importance. It didn't break any records or push any new limits. It was a personal experience, and the reward is nothing more than memories that will last us a lifetime. We're content with that.